not that the world started in 2008, but I would say we're living through an era of more intense regulation and more intense scrutiny about all types of transactions. And that has intensified at the same time transactions have become more complex, and with that a level of concern and then more scrutiny about the appropriateness of those transactions. And if you add together the influence of Dodd-Frank with the requirement that large financial institutions globally should be required to have more capital on their balance sheets so they can withstand losses that they perhaps couldn't anticipate or can't anticipate. I think those are big changes, and they have an impact on how businesses are run. Today on Wall Street, it's very expensive to do business as it was done a couple of years ago. And there are some transactions that are outright outlawed. You can't do them any longer. Or they become so cost prohibitive that you're incented or disincented to do them. So the world's changed a lot. I don't like it, but I get it. I'd be naive to say that it's a bad idea and I can't believe that, or I don't understand where this is coming from. I do understand what it's coming from. I understand us being on the verge of a global meltdown and the implications of that, and the missteps that were made, and the things that we won't do again, and the fallout from that. Not unlike Sarbanes-Oxley in the post-Enron era. I was on boards of directors. I can tell you after that event, every member of every board sat up a little straighter in his chair, read it a little bit more carefully, read the documents and the board presentation more carefully because they felt more on the line. Were there lots more, many more forms to fill out? Was it much harder to run your business for all the submissions you had to make to ensure that you were doing the right thing? Sure. Did the pendulum swing too far? It might have, but gradually it migrated back a little bit. And I suspect over time that the pendulum will swing back a little bit more than it is now. But remember, we were in the middle of thinking about a global meltdown, so it's appropriate for the government and for regulatory authorities to do what they need to do to protect shareholders and the public. Do I like it all? No. Do I think some of it's an overreach? Yes. But do I understand where it came from? Of course I do. So we are in that world. Lots of players made it happen that way. Can't be blamed on any one place, but it is the world. Those are the facts on the ground now. I think that the attractiveness of the IPO hasn't changed for the seller who wants to raise capital from public markets, or for the investment bank who is taking that seller to market. I think investors, however, are more wary. They don't want to be involved in a company where it is so volatile and less proven. Some of the disappointment around Facebook was what happened in the initial trading. I'm not so sure it was as relevant to the long-term prospects of Facebook, but it certainly made people uneasy. And I think it probably reminded them of the bubble and what had happened years before. Probably inappropriate to attribute what happened there to that, but I think that idea is still in the marketplace, and no one wants to get caught up in a rush to a new company and find out that company's prospects are not as sustaining as they had hoped. Telling a good story is part and parcel of the investment banking experience. I'm not so sure that's changed. But I do think because of the investor being more wary and wanting to get in on a good deal for not only the short-term pop of it, which is probably not the right way to go into the stock market, but they want to be sure that they're with a long-term winner. And I think given the uncertainty of the last several years, I think it's incumbent on the investment banker to tell the story very carefully and to pay close attention to the comparables in the marketplace around that company and be able to justify the performance of the company, not only in a great environment in which it's selling, but also in a more challenging environment. And I think we've seen the impact with some companies doing better post-IPO, some not doing as well. I don't think our mission has changed in it, but I do think that it is a much more highly scrutinized environment with respect to performance. And I think for companies, I think they have to be careful as well, because the environment today may not be the one that makes as much sense for them, even though it looks really great. I think they have to take a view, and we would always advise our clients to take a longer view than just the market they're in. And because the performance of the company in the immediate term after the issuance is very important for pulling together long-term investor confidence, which for my clients, that's the goal. I've frequently told them it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. If you're building long-term shareholder value, which is important to you, important to the investors, you being the company, then it's important to sort of take that view going into the market and not be so quick to make decisions that really only speak to today's environment. So I don't think the market or the process has changed that much, but I think because of the uncertainty in the last several years, the consequences for getting it wrong have.